All right, and there we go. Yo. What is good, everyone? Obviously, let me know if the audio is good right now, because it is a hot day here, so I do have a fan on. If the fan is too much, I'll obviously find some other way of going about it. I got the window open as well, but we are always on the grind set. We're always on the grind set. So, I'm very excited. Very excited for this stream, because this is something that's obviously been, I guess, building up technically for such a long time. I always thought it'd be cool to reach like a landmark moment like this, and I feel as though seeing that I've been through this far in the One Piece journey, it's just really crazy to me. So I just wanted to do something fun, which will be just a fun little, audio's good, thank you. So I just wanted to do something fun, something to celebrate, not just the series that is so amazing and has rotted my brain to the core, but most importantly, I wanted to just, chill with you guys and reminisce on, what has happened so far in the story. Because obviously, there's a lot of greatness that's happened. A lot of greatness. Now, for those who don't know, I started, and as you can see in the title of the video, I started making videos for chapter 1013 because I had a theory about Vegapunk, which obviously did not come true. But regardless, I had a theory, so I made a video about a theory, and now I'm here. Such a long time later, but still as brain rotted as ever. And with that, we're not going to start with chapter 1013. I'm going to show you all the different lists that we have here. So I could not make one combined thing. I think you have to make an account to do that. But I have this one here, which is all the chapters from 2021, all the chapters from 2022, and all the chapters from 2023. Now, obviously, 2024 isn't done yet, so there isn't one for that yet. But I'm hoping that we can get there through some, finagling around. I'll probably pull out like a notes list or something, or we could just figure out some way of doing it, regardless. So, with that, I'm super excited to get into it, and I'm going to be basing this stuff on kind of my experiences with the chapter, as well as, looking back on the chapters, how much I enjoyed them. And I'm obviously going to put into context, how I felt about it in the moment, which is, I say kind of valid. So some of these chapters are going to be in places you might not expect, which is pretty cool, in my opinion. So we're obviously going to start out with chapter 1013, which not only was really great, in my opinion, because of, the amazing cliffhanger of Luffy getting thrown off the rooftop, Kaido saying, "You couldn't be Joy Boy either." Like, this was crazy. This was a crazy moment in the arc for, two reasons. Luffy obviously losing again. Nobody expected that. Which was obviously super cool, in my opinion. It was a crazy, out of left field moment in the chapter, because Luffy obviously didn't show up for a while. And this is after Roof Piece, obviously, which is the peak that, got us all hooked in to the raid, in my opinion. And this, obviously, Luffy's loss leads to a bunch of the other fights that are going to happen with all the other Straw Hats, which is going to comprise a lot of this part of the tier list, to be fair, since I think it's actually the rest of the year, pretty much, which is so funny. But I'm going to put this chapter relatively high. I'm going to put this at a solid A tier. Now, it's definitely not an S tier, and we all know why. And what I'm going to do for this list is all of these tiers are going to carry over from the next and the next and the next. So every chapter that I considered A tier is A tier throughout the whole thing. So here's a perfect example. Obviously, the Gear 5 reveal and the Gear 5 chapters were absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And they are S tier, right? I don't think you guys needed to get, any crazy predictions for that, but they're going to be S tier. Might be, pretty obvious, but they will be. So I felt as though having them have the S tier to themselves would make sense, obviously. But there's a lot of moments as well that I think are definitive S tier moments. And while I do love You Couldn't Be Joy Boy Either, obviously amazing moment for not just, the craziness of the story, but a lot of Kaido's characterization. I'm going to put it in A because I don't think it matches the pure craziness of what's to come and the hype of what's to come, but it's still a fantastic moment that I wanted to point out in particular. And obviously, you know, the Big Mom Maser Cannon, super cool, super creative attack, and it led to my brain rot, you know, really going far. All right, next we got chapter 1014. Now, chapter 1014 was really cool in the moment, but the more I think about this chapter, the more annoyed it makes me, and we obviously know why. This chapter had a lot of crazy things in it. If I'm going to check right now, just to be 100% certain, because I'm fairly certain, that it's not just Kinemon killing Kanjuro, but it's also Kaido killing Kiku. No, it's Kanjuro not kills Kiku, but cuts off Kiku's arm. Then it is Kinemon killing Kanjuro, and then it's Kaido killing Kinemon. I want to ensure that it's this chapter and not 1015. I feel like they could be very easily fused together because the action in the story, obviously. So I'm going to make sure. I have a lot of these saved, luckily, so we don't have to go through some crazy, immense, you know, search through all this stuff, which is great. Let me see. There it is. There we go. All right. 1014. Here we go. And this was the Ham, so this is definitely the Kanjuro chapter, no question about it, which I really did like. Yep, and there's Kanjuro as fake Odin stabbing Okiku. Then, yep, it's all three. It's all three. All three. So, I loved this chapter when it came out. It felt immensely suspenseful. We had a bunch of craziness going on. I loved Kinemon's death. I was a huge fan of that when I read it for the first time. I felt like that was the perfect way to kill off his character, and it really summarized his role in the story really perfectly. And it was tragic. You know, it was really tragic because Kinemon obviously believed that him and Kanjuro were actually friends, and then we see all this craziness going on. Amazing. And obviously, all of these deaths did not matter. So this is going straight into D tier because this chapter was awesome. If it had any resonance whatsoever, it would have been awesome. But all of these characters are alive after this chapter, which is ridiculous. And I know that One Piece has fake deaths relatively often, but having it be that all of them are alive, but characters that are seemingly thrown away like that, like Ashura, which was obviously another great moment, but not nearly as emotional out of the blue, was pretty ridiculous to me. Pretty ridiculous. Especially when Kanjuro, Kinemon, and Kiku were some of the most developed scabbards by far. By far. So, I felt as though that was a complete sham of a chapter and definitely worthy of the D tier. Definitely one of the worst chapters in retrospect. Now, 1015, from what I remember, is... I'm checking right now. Yeah, this is Kid and Law working together to fight Big Mom, and Yamato goes to the rooftop. So it is a lot of setup. It is a lot of setup, obviously. We're getting the pieces together. Oh, Luffy's in the ocean. Oh, Kid and Law are now fighting Big Mom together. Sanji's fighting Queen on the live floor with Chopper. You know, a lot of stuff is getting put into place because after this we got a long stretch of the Straw Hats fighting Kaido's crew. So for this, I'm going to give this a solid C, maybe a B, maybe a B. But mostly it's Momo encouraging the Straw Hats and the Samurai to keep going because they know Luffy's alive, because they just know. It's just faith. Faith in Luffy, you know? Now next we have chapter 1016, which is another, you know, setup chapter. We got a bunch of stuff. We find out that Zeus's sacrifice actually was not him dying, which is pretty crazy. We get Nami versus Ulti, which was pretty awesome. Love that. But it's not the actual epic moment of Nami versus Ulti. We have Kaido and Yamato start their scuffle on the rooftop as well, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. We have this amazing line from Kaido that went nowhere at this point in the story. Yes, I'm going out to sea with Luffy, but only after I've driven you out of Wano, Kaido. Wolololo. Don't think I'm leaving for anywhere else, Yamato. I'm here because it's Wano. We still have no necessarily an idea on what that means yet. I'm hoping we get more of that. I think there's a lot of potential. I think this is another solid B or C. I did like having Nami fight Ulti, though. That was really cool. Obviously, Ulti, in my opinion, is the best of the Toby Roppo. I don't think that's a shocking thing to say whatsoever. Ulti is really cool, immensely compelling character who fought Luffy, and is just a horrible person with a fire design. So, I am going to give this a C. I thought this chapter was cool. Zeus joining Nami, though, really cool. Big fan of that. And I really did like the beginning where we saw the people of Wano, which obviously in the anime is shown all the time. But in this one, we got to see Toko. I love Toko. I love that. Was that the But I Thought You Were Odin Smack Talk chapter? Are you talking about at the end with... I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to, but I could check. No, it seems to not be that. Now, chapter 1017, immediately, banger, because Buggy is on the cover page, which is a good sign in my opinion. Buggy being on the cover page, great sign. Now, we're setting up Jinbei Who's Who, great sign as well. I thought that fight was pretty cool. Another setting up the pieces chapter. Another setting up the pieces. Another one. We got Speed. Speed's cool. I like Speed. Speed's a funny character. Whole lot of setting up the pieces in this chapter. Sanji's fighting Queen. That's pretty cool. Sanji's fighting... Oh, Baby Chopper. Everyone's favorite. Baby Chopper. Okay. Here we go. Jinbei Who's Who. Okay. This is good. This is a good chapter because Who's Who brings up this specific quote. I happen to like what I am now, but I went through hell, all because of a single little mistake 12 years ago. That is the first allusion, obviously, to the Gumma Gumma no Mi being something that is more important, and that was the end reveal for this chapter. That Straw had eaten the very gum gum fruit that's stolen from my ship. Now, this was huge. This was an absolutely insane reveal, and in my opinion, Jinbei Who's Who was a decent fight. You know, it obviously had a lot of resonance connected to the Sun Pirates. We love the Sun Pirates here. They're pretty awesome. But the main reason I think this fight is so good is because it obviously reveals stuff about Nika and the Gumma Gumma no Mi, Shanks, a lot of potential here. I'm immediately going to give this a B in the rating because it's the setup to a very epic reveal. It might be A. It might honestly be A. But I think the next chapter, which is Jinbei versus Suzu, is better. So that will probably be A as well. Whole lot of setup. We see CP0 doing stuff, and then boom, we continue the fight here. Technically, my grudge is against the man who stole the Gum Gum fruit from us, red-haired Shanks. We're just getting a bunch of reveals. Shanks stole the fruit. The fruit is important. He got taken away to prison because he let the fruit go. Then he's being racist against the fishmen. Then we get to talk about, you know, the fishmen and the sun god. Wow. Whole lot of reveals here. Whole lot of reveals. And I think the action is pretty raw. This fight was also pretty good in the anime because it had a lot of great cracking sound effects. It made a lot of the moments feel more impactful, which I really liked. Really liked. Jinbei no diffs this dude with a demon brick fist. Super sick. If you're going to run your mouth about history, be ready for what you're stepping into first. He was cooking. He was absolutely cooking. Jinbei, he went hard. So not only did Jinbei get a fight as a Straw Hat for the first time ever, which in my opinion was pretty cool because I think Who's Who is pretty cool, I'm going to give that an A. I felt like it had a lot of reveals, some fun action. Jinbei having his first fight as a Straw Hat, a lot of cool stuff in my opinion. So I'm going to give that an A. The next we're on 1019. Now this is, let me check. I think we are setting up We're not in the Robin fight yet. We're not in the Robin fight yet. I think this is the one where Sanji is like, Robin, you got to do this. No, but that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Oh, we're setting up Frankie. Setting up Frankie. Okay, we're setting up Frankie. Oh, this is Frankie's fight. I'm fairly certain. If I don't fight for the sake of this country, I can't call myself Odin. So this is the reveal of Yamato's fruits, which was pretty cool. This is the reveal of Yamato's fruit, Frankie's fight. So, you know, some cool stuff here. Some cool stuff here. I'd give this one a B. I'd give this one a B. I'd give it a B. Obviously, Sasaki, not that compelling in my opinion, but Frankie did have a cool fight with him. We did see Sasaki break the Frankie Shogun, which was pretty crazy. And then, you know, Frankie, he went in with the radical beam. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. And the reveal of Yamato's fruit was pretty cool. So I'm going to give this a B. Decent action. Decent. Now, next, this is a huge bias for me. Huge bias for me. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of Robin. I think Robin's pretty awesome. But this chapter starts out with actually Yamato and Kaido fighting, which I thought was pretty cool. We even get to see them do like their breath attacks, and one obviously is fire, one is ice. That was really awesome. Now, Robin and Brooks here as well. We get a lot of trauma. We get a lot of trauma. Saul, Olvia, Clover here, and Robin can't handle that. She's like, I know the pain. I know. And I really like this dynamic that Robin and Brooke have. I think it's very sad, but also pretty endearing. So I was a big fan of that. I really like Black Maria's powers. Super creepy. I'm a huge fan of spider powers. I always love like creepy spider characters in stories, or like bug characters. So I'm a big fan of Black Maria off the rip. But I love how just heinous and horrible she is to so many characters. Specifically belittling Sanji, saying that he's worthless and that he shouldn't be the number 2 on the crew, which is obviously funny in retrospect because he's number 4 now. But this line here, you don't need to know what it means that Sanji relied upon me for help. He is truly worthy of being the wings of the king of the pirates. And then Robin gets her giant form out, super sick, and then we cut back to Luffy eating the fruit, and then guess what? He's encouraging Momo. Momo, you gotta get me back up there. You gotta do this. And this is obviously the first build up to Momo aging himself up with Shinobu's powers, which was obviously really cool. So I'm actually gonna give this an A, because not only do we see Robin, and Robin has some great moments. You know, love Robin, like I said, but it's just cool. We're seeing Robin have a fight for the first time in like 800 chapters, which is wild to think about. But yeah. And Demonio, obviously the second chapter of her fight was amazing as well. Sorry, my nose is driving me crazy right now. Oh my god. Sorry, I keep having an itch in my nose. Now, Demonio's obviously the second part of the fight, which I don't really think I need to go over. A lot of substance there. Robin fully embracing herself as, oh, if they're going to see me as a demon, I might as well be a demon to protect the people I care about. This is obviously a very similar arc to what Chopper did in the story, which I think is also kind of neat because Chopper and Robin are very closely connected characters, which I think is cool. And I don't know. I just think Robin's fight with Black Maria is super crazy and just really, really cool. I love the absurdly brutal nature of it, with Black Maria having these brass knuckles and beating the crap out of her, and Robin then literally turning into a demon and breaking her spine. Like, it was super graphic. And of course, one of the craziest things in this chapter is that we get to see the goat Koala. We get to see the goat Koala. Love that. We get to see her time skip training really come into the fold. We see Hack. We see Sabo. We see that Robin is learning Fishman Karate, which is awesome. Love that so much. And she just goes crazy and then literally snaps Black Maria's spine And Brook also takes care of one of the numbers. They're kind of fodder, but whatever. And at the end of this chapter, Shinobu is asked by Momo, use your ripe jutsu to turn me into an adult. In my opinion, this is an S tier chapter. This is what I'm here for One Piece. We get great action. We get amazing character development. Crazy plot twists with Momo asking to be older. I think this is an S tier chapter because, of course, Robin's character growth feels very earned. Her opponent is actually menacing and is a great antithesis to who Robin is as a character. So I think this is an S tier chapter, in my opinion. And we got a cool new form, for merch. So with that, we have our first S tier on the list, 1021, which is, in my opinion, a pretty worthy S tier. But next, we have another just banger chapter, which is The Stars That Take the Stage. Now, this is obviously the chapter where Zoro and Sanji, they level up. Marco is gassing these guys up. And at this point, we got Jinbei's fight done, Frankie's fight done, and Robin's fight done, meaning we're getting close to the end. We're getting close. We are getting close. Now, we do have the amazing fight, which is Raizo versus Fukurokuju. Absolutely banger fight. Undoubtedly masterclass One Piece writing. And then we have Hawkins versus Killer. Now, I am a huge fan of this fight. Huge. And that is set up here, but we don't get the finale yet. That chapter will rank high. I'm going to let you guys know right now. That will rank high. And this is actually a bit more of the setup than I realize. The only way you can finish me off is by personally killing your own captain. Banger. Hawkins is being as brutal as ever and being immensely cold-hearted. I love this. This is really cool. This is why I like this character. Now, we do have a lot of the people just setting the pieces into place. We have Nekomamushi going after Perospero, even though Carrot could have, obviously, but we're not going to talk about that. We have King going after Zoro, even though he's packed up. He's still in the spliff. And then Marco is taking on King and Queen together until Zoro is absolutely fine with the drugs and Sanji, he's back up. It's time for the Stars to take the stage. This was an elite moment because this specific end line was so hard. Hey, Twirly Brow, once we conquer this battle, we're going to catch a glimpse of Luffy as king of the pirates. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's hype. It's hype. The boys are back in town. It's time to go. I'm going to give this a solid A. This was a hype chapter for sure. Absolutely insane. Now, 1023, Spitting Image. This is obviously the chapter where Momo is an adult. Whoa, crazy reveals. And he's obviously the spitting image of Odin. This was a cool chapter. It was a bit more setup, That's the one thing about the raid. It's a lot of setup and a lot of action. This specific action moment, it's before they split off to do their own fights, Zoro and King and Sanji and Queen. So it's them scuffling on the live floor. It's very frantic. It's very intense. Now, as you guys know, I'm not really a super action-focused guy when it comes to One Piece, which is why, and in my opinion, a lot of people I know aren't necessarily in it for the action. There are more people in it for the power scaling than the fight itself, which I think is kind of funny. But this was pretty cool. We did have a lot of great stuff here, especially because in this chapter, Zoro is first referred to as someone that is immensely similar to Ryuma. Now, obviously, Zoro and Ryuma have this huge connection, and a lot of people wanted more of this in Wano, and I feel like we're going to get more of this as the story continues onward. Many people were obviously pissed off he didn't go visit his grave, but c'est la vie, whatever. But I really liked this reveal. I thought it was really cool. People were talking that talk, saying Zoro he's him, which was great. We get Jack versus Inuarashi. We get Sulong, Inu, and Neko. Pretty cool. And then we get Adult Momo at the end of the chapter. I thought this was okay. It was cool. I'm going to give this a B. The reveal of Adult Momo obviously isn't too shocking because, the drawing is shocking, but seeing it happen is not like, whoa, in my opinion. But it is very cool. Come on, Momo. Let's go take back Wano. It's hype. It's hype. We're here. We're locked in. Now, the next chapter, So-and-So, I'm going to let you guys know, I was not a big fan of this chapter. I was really not. Now, this is chapter 1024 for context, and we get a lot of setup. We see Usopp helping Tama. We see Nami and Frankie. We see them going crazy. We see a lot of people talking that talk. Brooks running away with Robin. Wow. Whole lot of stuff going on. Whole lot of stuff. Whole lot of walking. Whole lot of talking. We see Yamato and Kaido action. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And we even get some of Yamato's flashback. Now, I'm going to let you guys know, in complete honesty, I do not like this flashback. I think this flashback is rather boring. I feel as though a lot of the stuff that Yamato's flashback embodies isn't necessarily about Yamato. It's more about explaining why Yamato likes the samurai. But I feel as though all of this stuff doesn't necessarily matter, because all of these random, the daimyo, it's the daimyo, don't add much to the story in my opinion. They're just more victims of the cause, while I personally believe Yamato's love for the samurai could have easily taken place without these characters entirely. I feel as though a lot of this is just meant to gas up the samurai of Wano even more, but it just seems rather bland in my opinion. The one thing that does make this work is this line here. There are people who believe in me, people who accept me. This I love. I love this line right here, because I feel as though this could have worked as well without the samurai. Could have worked easily. But I like this because it obviously could be multifaceted with Yamato, being Odin, multifaceted there. But the people who accept me could also work with the Straw Hats, being like, whoa, Yama bro, and all this stuff. Easily could have done that as well. And I do love Kaido's very black and white approach and Yamato's more optimistic approach, because Kaido has seen the horrors of the world, while Kaido limiting Yamato has made Yamato not realize how bad the world truly can be, which is hilarious because Kaido has locked up Yamato and made them unable to do anything. Is that, which obviously is the complete lack of freedom, which is, I don't know, I find this dichotomy between the two really interesting, because Kaido is a victim of being enslaved and used as a weapon, and in order to ensure Yamato can't experience something like that, Kaido does the same thing to Yamato himself. Not necessarily the exact same thing, but I don't know. I find that dichotomy between the two really interesting. But in regards to that chapter, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give it probably a C. There are moments in it that are cool, but most of it is setup or a flashback I don't really think is necessary. So I'm going to give it a C. It's not a D because I don't hate it. I'm going to be honest, when I first was doing like reviews / reactions and all that, this chapter was really difficult for me, because it's like, I don't care. That's the genuine feeling I had. I just didn't care. And when I was first starting up, I was very cautious about that, because if I do talk negatively about the series, I'm just going to look like an asshat, I'm going to look like someone who just, why are you talking about it if you don't like it? But I've realized as, I've gone on more and more, if I just blindly accept everything that's given to me and don't give my opinion, then what is the purpose of my positive opinion in the first place? Because if I say I like something so much, but I never say I dislike something, then where are my standards? Where is this level that I'm presenting myself with? What am I standing for when it comes to the series? What am I standing for? And I don't know, as I've, grown more and more attached to the series and more confident in my thoughts, I've realized that having moments where you're simply just able to say, I did not enjoy that, is a lot more powerful than just blindly hating or blindly liking something. Because if you're able to elaborate on your thoughts and explain what you think, it is a lot more helpful to help other people realize, oh, maybe that's why I don't like it, or maybe that's why I do like it. And it starts a discussion. So, yeah, I'm glad that I've grown to the point where I'm able to just talk about something and kind of enunciate why I do or do not like something in this series, obviously. Now, 1025, we got Twin Dragons. Now, immediately I know this chapter is going to be good because I don't know if it's the final page, but the page of Momo and Kaido clashing against one another was so cold when I read this for the first time. We got a bunch of Yamato and Kaido stuff, and this obviously reconnects back to Ace, which I just really, really like. See, like, this short little flashback, I really like. I feel like this short little flashback right here. You have lived alone on this island for years, hopping about the rocks, crawling through the attics, always alone. That's not true. I have friends, and Yamato is referring to Ace. That's right. There were also the samurai in the cave, and everyone who ever showed favor to you is dead. And literally, if we just had that, that's right, there were also those samurai in the cave, and everyone who showed favor to you is dead. These pages alone, they care for Yamato, they are killed for caring for Yamato. It's that simple. It's really that simple. The main reason we got that Yamato flashback is to gas up this random guy who could be Zoro's dad, but like, I don't know, for me, I did not care. I did not care. Clearly Oda didn't care, because Oda just explained it in SBS. But at the end of this fight, we get a really cool moment of Kaido talking about the Oni race and how humans are meant to be lesser than them because they fear them. That was pretty cool. I was a big fan of this moment because it showed how jaded Kaido is. He cannot imagine being friends with these people, which is really cool. I actually want to shout out really quick. Joy Boy Theories made a fantastic video about how Kaido and Fisher Tiger are really similar characters. I would highly recommend you watch that video. And he basically said in this moment, Fisher Tiger would have been exactly like this, exactly what Kaido is saying, exactly what he's saying, had he stayed alive after being attacked by Kizaru and all of them. Immensely, like, crazy moment for his character. I was a big fan. And now we got Momo crashing through Onigashima. We get to see a bunch of this stuff going on in a more fun way. You know, obviously we could be skipping around from place to place, but we're literally crashing through the floors. We're seeing all the craziness go on. And then at the end of this, we get a sick combo attack from Luffy and Yamato. And then we get this amazing double page spread of Momo and Kaido as dragons. Really cool. I'm actually going to give this an A. I feel as though this is a lot of great setup for what's to come. The stakes feel high. And although we're not going to see, you know, much for this specific thing for a while, because we obviously have, excuse me, some other fights we got to go through. This was a great setup for Luffy and Kaido's clash. Big fan. We also get Momo saying, "My name." Love that. I love whenever Momo is like getting more confident as the story goes on. Really big fan. We do get to see Momo and Kaido do some clashing as dragons. Momo bites Kaido. That's pretty cool. I really like this because we get a bunch of the stuff with Kaido in Momo's flashback. Kaido choking Momo or holding him over the side of the, I guess, roof. I don't know if I would call that a roof necessarily, but I guess the outer area of the roof. We then get a bunch of stuff with Luffy gassing up Momo, and here we go. This is what I was waiting for this chapter. In this chapter, Luffy and Kaido split the sky. This is what I've been waiting for so long. Not only did they split the sky, but them splitting the sky is what allowed the moon to, you know, reappear. And then guess what happens? Sulong, Inu, and Neko go crazy, and they no-diff Jack and Perospero. So chapter 1026, although there was a lot of setup, we did have a lot of great action with Momo and Luffy, and most importantly, Luffy and Kaido split the sky, which is something that I was waiting for ever since the beginning of the arc, because if Luffy's going to be a Yonko character, he deserves to be that. Now, I am so tempted to give this an S tier because of that alone, and because of that, I'm going to. And they knew on this tier list that this was the moment, because the picture right there is them splitting the sky. This was by far one of the craziest moments in this arc, in my opinion. And I feel like this is an immensely slept on moment because so many people focus on Gear 5, which obviously was awesome, but this was just next level, man. Next level. Yo, shouts to my guy Chase White. Haven't seen you in a minute, bro. Appreciate you for stopping by. Says, I finally caught alive. I've missed the streams, Kev. Congrats on that 100 chapter milestone. Appreciate you for stopping by, my guy. And we are only 13 chapters in, so we have a lot to go. We have a lot to go, but I appreciate you stopping by. Okay, now Inu and Neko's fights are done, and we get back to Luffy versus Kaido. We got a bunch of craziness going on. Can't imagine it. Yamato's obviously involved as well. And because of this, Luffy is fighting Kaido. Pretty epic. Luffy's going to be fighting Kaido for the rest of this. I don't know if you guys knew that, but Luffy fights Kaido in this arc. And Yamato and Momo, now they get this bond, you know? They're like, we've got to work together. You've got to make the flame clouds. You've got to make this. This is what we've been waiting for. So we get more Luffy versus Kaido, more of the people being in pain and suffering, but instead of that, we cut back to the performance floor. We got back to the live floor, guys. We got back to the live floor. And now we're splitting up. We're splitting up. Zoro and King, we're getting ready. It's time for Zoro and King. And by that I mean, no, it's not. Because we cut away. We cut away from Zoro and King. And that chapter, mostly set up, gonna be honest. 1027 did have the reveal of something under King's mask, which is cool, but honestly, not that crazy. I'm gonna give this a C. And then the next chapter, 1028, is mostly a very similar setup thing. We do have our goats on this channel. You know, the goat Robert. The goat Robert is here. And he talks about bring back Nico Robin. Now, I specifically remember when this chapter dropped, I made a video talking about just this alone, just this specific aspect of the chapter, because I was truly, completely sold that this was going to be what was going to happen, either for the rest of Wano or for what's to come. And I'm very happy to know that this did pan out. Obviously, Egghead, huge Lucci arc. Lucci's reappearance in the story was not for nothing. Was not for nothing. So we get a bunch of fun stuff. Momo and Yamato trying to learn how to do the flame clouds. That does not happen. And most of this chapter is Sanji versus Queen setup, which has some very fun gimmicks of him shooting himself out like a cannon at Sanji, which is really cool. And Sanji's dilemma with developing his Germa powers. Now, I really like this. I really, really like this because I felt as though Sanji's inner turmoil, his inner turmoil towards Germa, was obviously projected onto Queen, since Queen uses all of Germa's powers. I felt as though this is, I feel as though this is by far Sanji's best fight. I really love this fight, so this is great. This is great. And I think this has a lot of good setup. I'm actually going to put this in B, because not only is it set up for Sanji, it's set up for the story to come as a whole, and we get more Momo Yamato stuff. I feel as though the Zoro one was a bit more cramped and didn't give Zoro versus King enough of a moment that's crazy. It was just mostly action without any real reveals about Zoro. Because Zoro doesn't necessarily need reveals, that's not what Zoro's fight's about. This is just, I prefer Sanji's internal drama, which is then put onto Queen. in a really great way, in my opinion. Really great way. Now, 1029, we got a banger. This is Killer versus Hawkins. I am a huge fan of this fight. Huge. I feel as though this is one of the best fights in Wano. It has immensely cool moments all throughout. And obviously, Hawkins gets bodied by Killer. He gets bodied. Because he's thinking he's so smart, but then guess what? He plucks the wrong card. Uh-oh. Great change is coming. Great change is coming. And then this is our first allusion towards what's to come with Big Mom versus Kid Law. The hype is real. So, I'm a huge fan of this fight. As you guys know, or probably have heard before, I am a big Hawkins fan. Hawkins is one of my favorite supernova in the story, and I loved him in this arc, especially this fight here, because he is so downtrodden. He has no faith. He only can rely on the cards because he has to focus on what the odds are, and he can't go at the odds. Like, why would he do such a thing? But as we continue on, obviously, we find out that he did go out at the odds because he realized if he stayed around, he'd be the 1% man. He'd be the 1% man. And I really like that element of the story because it goes to show that he is so he's not jaded necessarily. He is jaded, don't get me wrong, but he felt as though he already betrayed Kid, Apu, and Killer once. He can't betray Kaido and Big Mom because he stood his ground, which I really, really appreciate. Because Hawkins, it shows that he is loyal to some extent, but more so I think he couldn't take it himself, because he could have easily been like Apu and just screw everyone, what's the point? But that's not the direction they went with him, which I find really cool and interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really like this stuff because it's just, he's so downtrodden. He is destroyed, but meanwhile, characters like Apu, who are working with Kaido the whole time, or Kid and Killer, who stay determined, they have their own different mindsets. I love this line here from Killer. Don't get emotional now. Besides, I know that deep down you regret the decision you made back then, don't you? Because you fear dying in this future, and here we are, still standing. I love that. I love that. Because it goes to show how much Killer's in his head. He knows what Hawkins is all about. And I just love this. I'm going to give this an A. I was a huge fan of this chapter when it dropped. The action was great. I loved Hawkins getting all this crazy development. And even Killer. Killer leveled up from this fight, in my opinion. I became a Killer fan. I became a fan of the Killer. Dare I say. Yo, what's good, Moog? Moog says, do a tier list of every chapter in One Piece across several parts, with this being the first. That would be painful. So I actually did see they're working on a tier list, and they did chapter 1, but they're currently on like Fishman Island, and I'm just like, oh my god. That would be so bad. That would be so painful. Alright. 10:30. We're almost 20 chapters deep, guys. We're actually almost done this list as well, which is great. Now, we get a bunch of stuff with Drake and Apu. This stuff, okay. I'm not an Apu guy. I'm really not. We get Kinemon's legs, so we know Kinemon's alive. We get Kazembo. We get Orochi. And then we get Big Mom. Okay, hold on. Big Mom and Kaido? I mean, not Kaido. Big Mom, Kid Law. Okay, that saved it. Because it's like, they had me in the first half with all this mid. And then we're back to Kid, Law, and Big Mom. Which, obviously, amazing fight. Huge fan of this. And my favorite part is that we get it while Yamato's just strolling through, like, oh, gotta find the bombs with Kazembo, which is, again, so stupid. And then we cut to, an amazing fight, which is hilarious. So, because of that, I'm gonna give this to B. I'm gonna give it to B. Because, guess what? It could have been great. but it was flooded with so much crap at the beginning that I can't. I can't in good faith give this an A or an S because there's so much horrible, horrible stuff in this chapter. So with that, no. No for me. Now, this entire chapter, 1031, is literally Big Mom and Kid-in-Law. You know, from the start, we get this amazing panel of Big Mom going absolutely sicko, taking all of these guards' lives. It's pretty great. But as quick as you think this is going to be a great chapter, guess who we see? Scratchman Apu. And Scratchman Apu and Drake, them fighting, that's cool. I also am a big fan of Drake. We also get to see Drake and Yamato clash, which is cool because I like Drake. Drake is pretty cool. And then Yamato says, "What, really? Sorry, Drake, I'm in a hurry." Love that. Love that. And then we see Drake go after Apu. That's great because I also want to murder Apu. Big fan. And then we get Sanji having a huge, crazy development. Sanji hits... What's her name? Oh my god, this is going to kill me. This is going to actually kill... This is going to kill me. This is going to kill me. This is going to kill me. I know this character's name. I know this character's name. I know her name. This is going to kill me. Okay. I remember it before this fight's over. But Sanji hits one of the people in Kaido's pleasure hall. And obviously Sanji's like, "I did do it." And he's shook. He's like, "I'm turning into my brothers. I'm turning into them." Because obviously they're terrible and they beat Cosette. So yeah, at least I remember her name. This is going to kill me. This is actually going to kill me. And then we get this amazing line from Sanji. So I'm going to read it verbatim. "Tell me, Luffy, which would you prefer? The regular flesh and blood me, who turns into a helpless wreck whenever I face an opponent who's a woman? Or a cruel, cold, emotionless warrior of science, who can crush even monsters like him, as long as you give me the order? Which one's going to be more useful to the king of the pirates? I don't know what'll happen yet, but here goes." And then he crushes the Germa suit. Osome, thank you so much. I knew it started with the O. Thank you. Come on, what a waste. I want to see you transform. Farewell, Germa. Farewell, woman's bath. This is one fight I gotta end myself. That alone is gonna put this in S tier. I'm gonna let you know this. This chapter's in S tier. This is an S tier chapter because of all the depth that we got with Sanji, all the character growth, all the great writing in this, and then we got this other great moment because Sanji is shook because he's thinking he's turning into Germa. He's like, "What's going on with me?" And then he says, well, we don't see it in live in the moment. We're getting a little flashback of him talking to Zoro. "If I'm not in the right mind, I want you to kill me." I love that. I love that. He trusts Zoro so much. He's like, "You have to kill me if I stay as this monster." Elite. One of the best Sanji chapters. One of the best. And now we're cutting back to Zoro. We get a bunch of interludes and stuff, but we're cutting back to Zoro. This is all set up for Zoro and King. We get a bunch more setup. You know, Drake, Apu, Kazembo, Robin, Brook, Yamato. Oh my god. We got Dripper Scarfino taking out Apu. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff here. But guess what? Then we get the amazing panel of King scrunching his face up to attack Zoro, which is absolutely hilarious. I love how wacky Oda was with the dinosaurs, because nobody even knows what these things are. So they're just making crap up, which I find absolutely precious. Like the helicopter Triceratops, like Queen being a snake. It's great. Now, we do get a bunch of cool stuff with Enma possibly taking over Zoro, which is cool. Cool setup. we will get more on that later. And then Orochi and Komurasaki, we obviously know where that's leading. In my opinion, this chapter, rather mid. Again, this is not to shade. I'm just going to let you guys know. You guys know this. I'm not a Sanji guy or a Zoro guy. Like, they're not even in my top 5. Let's be for real. But Sanji's writing in this arc, which is hilarious because this is supposed to be Zoro's arc, is so much better than Zoro's writing. Because Zoro's writing in the action, his dedication to Luffy, that's awesome. That's obviously the point of this fight. Because him and King are meant to be the absolute die-hard soldiers and the strongest soldiers of, their respective captains, And he's constantly trying to figure out why he can't even touch King, which is obviously the flames for the Lunarians. But Sanji's writing is a lot more internal, it's a lot more introspective, and it has more to do with his backstory, which I just think hits more. Which is actually hilarious, because the next chapter is about Zoro's backstory, and I feel like it's complete. It's just thrown in for fan service, and doesn't add anything. I'm going to put this chapter in C. I feel like it's rather mid. In the most respectable way. Respectably mid. So we get more of Zoro and King until we don't. Until we don't. Until we don't. We then get Sanji and Queen. We're getting some interspersed stuff going on here. Actually, wait, hold on. Yeah, we get some interspersed stuff going on. How fun is that? Some interspersed action. Then we get Zoro's backstory. Some stuff about the Shimotsuki village. We get to see Kuina. We get to see Kuina's grandpa. And then we get to see some stuff about swords. So he's learning how to use the sword. I do want to say that I did like how Enma did connect to Zoro's past. That was cool. Because a lot of people obviously expect some Odin hockey crap. But I did like that. And most importantly, I really liked, one, this Zoro just conquers hockey. This shit was elite. This shit was awesome. Because people get knocked out. They get knocked out right now. But this specific line here, that's right. I've got a promise to keep to my captain and my best friend. Elite. Elite. In my opinion, one of Zoro's best lines ever. This going in A tier. Elite. Elite. This is an amazing moment for Zoro. Actually, yeah, it's going to stay in A. It's going to stay in A. Yeah. Okay. I like this. A. Alright, 1034, Sanji vs. Queen. Banger. Banger alert. Banger alert. So, I did bring these out from the shelf back there. Because I did literally get this one. This specific volume. Volume 102. Because I enjoyed the finales of these respective fights so much. I am a massive fan of Sanji vs. Queen. And I'm a massive fan of Zoro vs. King. Shit is awesome. Shit is awesome. So, what I'm going to do is I'm, of course, putting Sanji Queen in S tier. To me, that is not disputable. It is an amazing moment for Sanji. And it's an amazing moment for Zoro. We also get King's flashback in Zoro's fight, which I thought was really great. I was a really big fan of the flashback because it just shows how both of them are so similar. They're so similar. And the next chapter continues King's flashback, and not only continues it, it ends our first tier list. So this is what we have for the first tier list so far. We're getting into that golden era of Wano fights. We're getting to that peak. And you guys know there's a lot more to come. A lot more in these remaining 20-ish chapters of Wano. So this is our first list so far. I'm curious if you guys have any questions on my placements so far, or if there's any things where you're like, ooh, this could be here, this could be here, let me know. I really do enjoy a lot of the raid in the grand scheme, obviously. I do enjoy a lot of it, but I do think there is an issue with Oda doing so much puzzle pieces, in my opinion. And I feel like this is something that's been talked about rather regularly when it comes to Oda's writing of the raid, where it's almost too much and a lot of stuff doesn't get the focus you think it would. But I think when stuff is really, it's hitting, I think it does hit a lot. You know, like I mentioned, like the first chapter that started this whole thing was Kaido saying to Luffy, seems you couldn't be Joy Boy either. And I think that moment there was the change for the raid. And I feel like every chapter after that, it had this build and momentum of like, what did he mean by that? You know? And I feel like the end of this, which is very coincidental, I feel like the end of this is almost perfect, the end of this specific list, and the start of the next one. Because this is when King and Kaido talk about his possible connection to Joy Boy, which I think is really cool. And I really love that connection that Kaido has with Joy Boy. I think it's great. I think it has so much potential for his characterization, and I just really enjoy it. Because obviously Kaido would be considered a false Joy Boy, and Luffy's the real Joy Boy. I do want to check the flashback just to be 100% certain. Yeah. Yeah. Love this. Love this so much. I also want to point out the anime episode for this. These fights obviously were incredible in the anime, but I really want to point out the flashback section with King in the anime. I was a really big fan of that. Really big fan. I would say Demonio is S just because of a huge gap between Robin's fights and how much of a payoff it is. Well, lucky for you, Demonio is S. So, you see the vision. You see the vision. Excuse me. Oh, my hair keeps getting in my face. Alright. But, with that, we're now on list number 2. Wow. Chapter 1036. Bushido is the way. And now we're getting to some peak. I see a lot of banger chapters that are coming up. A lot of S tiers as well. Like, a lot. So, I'm excited. I am excited. Now, chapter 1036 directly continues from Zoro's fight, but we then get the amazing realization that King thinks Kaido is Joy Boy. Now, this flashback obviously does a lot for the characterization of Kaido. You think I'm Joy Boy? Is the world I'm creating really the one you wished for? Legends are legends, that is all. No, I seek nothing from you anymore. My life belongs to you. Just continue to be the strongest there is, and I won't lose any fight either. I'll make you king of the pirates. And then we get an amazing slide into Zoro saying that exact same stuff to Luffy, all the way back at Baratier. And Zoro saying he's going to be the king of hell. Now, this shit was awesome. This shit was awesome. This is One Piece. This is One Piece, you know? And then, we do get a lot of setup. Kazembo, the numbers. I do love this moment from Usopp. Now, you guys know, I'm a Usopp. I glaze Usopp. But I love this scene. Kiku and Kiku and Kinemon are beaten down, and Usopp says this. Wait, then why did I even show up? What is it with you samurai and your death wishes? What use is your pride? Take your responsibility through Harakiri. I'm not a fan of this culture of yours. I cling to life with snot running from my nose if I have to. I don't care if it looks pathetic. I survive. It's what I do, and it's the entire reason I'm standing here alive today. Why are you idiots so satisfied with pulling off your raid? Love that. Love that so much. I also love that, oh yeah, and then Izo shows up and says, God, Usopp, get him out of here. I love that. I love how Izo's a God Usopp stan. And I love that. Now, this chapter mostly sets up Kid, Law, and Big Mom, and Kaido and Luffy, which are two obviously amazing fights that are coming up, but we do have a lot of setup. But I do love that Usopp moment and the Zoro moment so much that I'm actually going to put this in B. I'm a big fan of those two moments. So I'm actually going to put it in B. Big fan. Big fan. And we get some setup, and then next chapter we get the drunken Kaido fight. Super fun. I'm a big fan of this. We get all his phases. We get all the funny phases. We get the sad. We get the happy. We get the angry. We get the flirty. I don't know. I'm a big fan. We get a lot of fun action here. And obviously this is before Gear 5, but we get a bunch of very cool action. Big fan. I loved reading this chapter. It was so fun. And then what do you know it? What do you know it? After this chapter of fun action, and I know I say I'm not an action guy, but I love Luffy action. I think Luffy action is always a fun time. It's very creative, you know? Fitting, would you say? We cut to Marie Joie. We see a bunch of stuff about the Gorosei talk about what's going on in Wano. And then, what do you know it? Zunisha's here? Then why would the world government bother to give that one specific devil fruit another name? It's to erase that fruit's name from the annals of history, isn't it? This was a crazy reveal. Not only did we get a chapter full of fun action between our hero and villain on a somewhat equal level, but we literally get Zunisha showing up. This shit was awesome. This is A. It's not S, but it is A. Now, we have Kid Law vs. Big Mom. This is a banger chapter. This is a banger chapter. Like, just title alone. You're like, it's gonna hit. We also get some more of the best fight in One Piece, Raizo versus Fukurokuju. You know, everyone's favorite. We get Baby Chopper. We get Zoro and the Grim Reaper. Cool. Cool moments. Cool moments. We get Izo versus Dripper Scarfino. We get Kazembo. Then we get Kid Law vs. Big Mom for a while. And shit's cool. Shit's cool. We get the Bull. We get the Shock Will. It's cool. I will admit, this is definitely not an S tier chapter. There's too much that's not Kid Law vs. Big Mom. There's too much that's not that. Which, this is actually really interesting, because I feel as though, and I'm going to bring this up when I do, by far my least favorite chapter of last year was Luffy versus Kizaru, because Luffy versus Kizaru barely happened in Luffy versus Kizaru. And to be fair, this also barely happened in this chapter. This chapter is around, well, each chapter is usually around 20 pages, and most of this chapter is not Kid Law vs. Big Mom. Most of it is not. Like, to be completely fair, most of it is not. However, I'm actually going to give this the pass, because stuff like this has been built up for such a long time. You know, seeing a fight with Kid Law and Big Mom. This has been built up for such a long time. And with Wano's very frantic pass around the ball pacing, it's not as jarring to me. So I'm actually going to give this the pass. I am not going to give it a super high ranking. Like, it's not S by any means. By any means. But there are moments in here that are interesting and cool. Like, literally just Zoro and the Grim Reaper. That was pretty cool. Because I don't care about Kazembo. I don't care about Baby Chopper. Jinbei helping these people, that's cool. We do like Jinbei here. We do like Jinbei. But mostly I do care about Kid, Law, and Big Mom. You know, the main characters of this fight. And they are not really taking the stage for a while. But this is just hype. I'm going to be honest. The supernova attacks, it helps a lot. I'm going to give this a B. Now, next chapter, which continues this fight, was great. Was absolutely great. Top billing. You know why it's top billing? Because these guys, they're what's up. They're what's up. They are the top billing. They are the top billing. Now, we get some crazy stuff from this. We get the saber. We get the bull. We get the magnetism. We get misery. We get the sword all the way from Onigashima to Wano. We get the R room. We get the damn punk. No, actually, the R room is not this chapter, but we do get the damn punk. But yeah, huge fan of this chapter. This was awesome. This is S tier. This is why I read One Piece, for stuff like this. The build up, the hype of these characters clashing after all this time, super great, super great. And now we get the conclusion of this fight with our room. She's still going. And then she gets blasted all the way down. We actually then see a really great transition from Big Mom's fight, which is the level above, to Yamato dealing with Kazembo. Now, like I said, I think Kazembo, really boring. But I do think this, amazing, like, we're just seeing the action transition from one to the other. Amazing. We also then have this really cool speech from Big Mom, where she's talking about how, oh, Roger, why'd you have to do it, man? Why'd you have to make all these people inspired? When, obviously, she was kicking around before Roger, did find the One Piece and was the Pirate King. Now, God. I just love this scene. Because it's her desperation. I love it. Just tell us about the One Piece before you die. Does it exist? It better. What is it? Where is it? Some of it's in this country too, isn't it? Oh, I'm so close. Kid, lol, they'll pay for this. Don't you dare assume this will kill me. Yeah. Nah. This is great. So great. Big fan of that chapter as well. I'm going to give that an S. And then at the end, we obviously get Momo and Zunisha reconnecting in some form. Pretty awesome. So, big fan of that. Now, chapter 1041, we get some more Zunisha stuff. Pretty sick. Hold on. I don't know how delayed I am. I love how in his final moments he tries to embrace Orochi, the one person who had ever shown him any form of affection. Oh, with Kazembo. Yeah. I do like that a lot. Because it shows, like... I'm not at that chapter yet. But, I don't know. I do like that moment. Because Kazembo, obviously... It's not a character, in a way. But it is one. It's sort of like... the lingering spirit of hatred. That's kind of the vibe I got. Because I think it isn't Kanjuro, but it is Kanjuro's, internalized whatever, So we do get a lot of Komurasaki stuff, a lot of reveals, which is cool. We get to see Orochi get bodied, which is cool. I like this. And then we cut back to Kaido, who is fuming, which I love this scene. I love this scene with him, fighting with Luffy, and then he realizes, oh, Big Mom's out. She's out of here. If the man who emerged from that fight turns out to be Kaido, then I don't have the willpower left to resist. So, Kid and Law, they're done. They're spent. But Luffy and Kaido, they're still going. And then Kaido freaks out. Did you sense that too? They've really gone and done it now. Lin lost the fight. And then we get this cool little glimpse into a flashback of young Big Mom. We get this little glimpse. And I like it. We even get some allusion to rocks. That's cool. I should have known that. I'd known that old hag a long time. And just after we swore an oath to claim the One Piece together, we get the super raw panel of Luffy, and he goes insane. And as you guys know, shit's getting crazy. Especially when he says, "This is my final Gear 4. I'm not stopping until I've completely run out of strength." Love this. A lot of fun stuff here. I'm gonna give this an A. And then next chapter, the victor needs no epithet. Like, dude, I don't even think I have to say anything. This chapter was insane when it came out. First off, we do get Dripper Scarfino talking about how he's envious of Drake. I love this. I hope Drake is alive. We then get the first buildup of the lanterns being lit up into the sky, another amazing moment at the end of the arc. We get Flirty Kaido. You know. And we get a bunch of great action. Again, another amazing example of the scale of this location. Kaido blasting through every single floor of this location, one after the other. We see the people reacting. I love stuff like that. It makes it feel so alive, and I think it works really well. And we see a bunch of stuff going on. A bunch of stuff's going on right now. I, obviously, really like the ending of this. When Kaido's about to go crazy, show me what you've got, boy. And what do you know it? Dripper Scarfino? What? CP0? We even get the flashback to Odin? What's going on? And then Kaido wins the fight. This shit was awesome. This is an S tier chapter. This was completely out of the blue. Completely out of the blue. And I love this because it makes him think, it's happening again. It's happening again. This shit was the one. I loved it. 1043, let's face death together. Kaido, he's done. He's done. He's ready. He kills Dripper Scarfino. At least I swear to God, I hope he does. If Dripper Scarfino's back, Kaido, you're on Frog Watch. Now, I think that Kaido's immensely just hateful speech. We have some amazing moments of people just completely losing faith. You know, Kid loses faith, Law loses faith, Tom's crying, but then Nami, of all characters, there's no way Luffy lost. Of course he's not dead. That's ridiculous. You're a liar, and I don't believe you. I love that. That scene in the anime especially, fantastic. Fantastic scene. Then we see a bunch of frantic stuff going on. Everyone's losing hope. Just give me a second. I'm back. I just had to do something real quick. Okay. Now, obviously, we get a bunch of great stuff this chapter. A lot of crazy reactions. All hope is lost. And then, of course, the chapter ends with Momonosuke. I can hear it. How long it's been. I hear the drums of liberation for the first time in 800 years. He is here. Joy Boy has returned. Literally, I could have just said the words, Joy Boy has returned, and that's it. I could have just said that. And guess what? That's S tier. And you're going to take a wild guess what the next chapter is. Warrior of Liberation, 1044. So I don't know if you know, but I bought this volume as well. 1044. Oh, 1044? That was an amazing chapter. Oh, 1045? That was an amazing chapter. Oh, 1046? Oh, that was an amazing chapter. We even get the end of Raizo versus Fukurokuju. You know, everyone's favorite fight in One Piece. And I'm going to keep it for real. I don't think I even need to rationalize this. That's S tier. That's S tier. And that's S tier. Yeah. Just the run of Gear 5, insane. Like, literally, I cannot begin to describe the... Like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can describe. Because even though, like, even the first chapter with Gear 5, even though so much of it isn't even Luffy fighting Kaido, it's just the pure insanity of just, it's happening. It's happening. Kaido's getting whipped around like a worm. He's getting slammed on the ground. He's getting bodied. He's getting bodied. This stuff, next level. Like, it's so fitting. This chapter is literally called Next Level. It is. This is the stuff in One Piece that is truly, like, generational. generational, you know? I'm here for this. I'm here for the fun. I'm here because not only is it fun, it's creative, it's hype. We get a bunch of cool stuff with Luffy, you know, who's my GOAT. I love this. I love this. I am here for Luffy. I'm here. Alright, let's check 1047. I wonder if it's a banger. I wonder. 1047? We do get Momo's flashback. I like that. But you know what else we get? Gear 5. I really like that. We get more stuff. We get the lanterns getting lit up. Got a lot of people giving their faith in Luffy. We get the Bajrang gun coming out. Okay. Yep, that's an Esther. That's an Esther. Let's see 1048. 1048. Let's see this craziness. 20 years. We get more craziness. The Bajrang gun going against the Flame Bagua. We get a bunch of Orochi flashback stuff. And I'm going to be for real. This is probably the first one that's not Esther. Although I did like Orochi, you know, as a character quite a lot. He played a really great villainous role in the story. I felt as though his flashback and Komurasaki and Denjiro took away from the intensity of Gear 5, and this could have easily been resolved earlier in the story. I do really like that Orochi's flashback does reconvene with a lot of the reasons why Kaido is such a great villain, showing how much of a threat he's been to these people for, you know, 20 years, titular 20 years. But I feel as though they could have done this a bit before. However, I do understand the purpose of that, and I do like the through line of Orochi being a burning dragon and Kaido using a burning dragon attack against Gear 5 while this is happening. I do think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to give this an A. I'm not going to give it an S, give it an A. Because I'm looking at this. Of course, we know a lot of Gear 5 is going to be an S. But this is going to be an A. And then we get the finale of the fight. We get Kaido's flashback, which I know a lot of people shit on, but I'm going to be for real. I like it. I think it's cool because Kaido's flashback isn't one flashback. It's Odin's flashback. It's Yamato's flashback. It's his own flashback. And we're going to get even more of it with Rocks. I like him a lot as a character. He does not need a flashback to be compelling, and I think he is without one. Without one, like, epic, multi-chapter long whatever, because we technically did get that with Odin anyway. Now, we do get a lot of setup here, but we also get Kaido's flashback, and we get a lot of build-up. We see all the people. We see all these people who have suffered, like Osome, which the name is actually in here now. Hiyori, Denjiro, Raizo. The chapter is specifically shown to show all of these people suffering, especially the people celebrating without having to know that they are done. Momo gets the flame clouds. We got it. We don't need to worry about it. And then Luffy bodies this dude. Bodies. And then we get this amazing line. Amazing line. King, I think I know who Joy Boy is. Who is he? He's the man who shows up to beat me in the future. In that case, I suppose we'll never see him. That line goes so hard. That goes so hard. It's like chills. Chills. He's been waiting for someone to defeat him. This is all he's wanted. The reason he's starting this great war, the reason he wants the world to be thrown to chaos is for someone to destroy him. Elite. Elite. This is an S tier chapter. And that is the end of the raid. The raid is over. The raid is over. The Luffy team has won. I don't know why I said the Luffy. What? Anyway, we get a lot of stuff here. We get the GOAT, Otoko. We love this. And we get a bunch of great stuff. Bunch of great stuff. Yeah. Yeah. We get to see everyone party. Everyone's celebrating. Everyone's having a good time. And then Kaido and Big Mom, they're under the lava. They're under the lava. And Komurasaki's coming. And Momo's coming. That shit was hype. Now, obviously, it's not the same level. It's not the same level. But I am going to give this an A. It feels very triumphant. We did it. It's time, you know? And then the second chapter after that obviously continues. We get to see a bunch of the people react to the Scabbards being alive. We get to see the Straw Hats meet Yamato. We get to see a bunch of people have a good time. Like Tama talking to Speed. They're chilling. We then get to see adult Momo. We get some of Tama's flashback. I love Tama. Tama's great. Tama's great. This is really strange. They use this panel of Luffy when it's actually not even in 1050. Very strange. Now, Momo, he becomes the Shogun. Pretty hype. Pretty hype. This was cool. I'm gonna give this an A. This felt very earned. I'm Wano made me a lot more of a fan of Momonosuke. I always thought he was cool, but he leveled up. He leveled up in this sense. This speech of his too. Love it. And he did help. He genuinely helped. This was so worth it. And think about it. That's 500, not 500. Maybe. Let me actually check. Alright, let me see what chapter he first appeared in. I just want to make sure. Chapter 684. So it's almost 400 chapters of development. Almost. That's crazy. This is what it's all led to. Everything. Alright. Chapter 1052. This was a banger. A banger chapter. A banger. We get to see a bunch of people react, like Gorosei. We get to see Cypher Pole. We get to see Drake. We get to see Hawkins as the 1% man. I was a really big fan of that. Really big fan. We get to see a play start to be written. We see the Scabbards talking to Izo and Ashura. And then we get a big old party. You get a big old party. Everything's going crazy right now. I like it. Big old party. And then this little tease from Apu. All of your bounties. And the names they're calling the new Emperors of the Sea. Huh? What? New Emperors of the Sea? What do you mean by that? And then, Ryokugyu? Wait. What? What? Oh my god. An admiral? And new emperors? That's hype. That's A tier. And then, of course, 1053. This, I don't even think I need to question it. I don't even think I need to question it. Everything that happens in this chapter is awesome. You know, Ryokugyu's here. We get stuff with Old Wano and Pluton. So many reveals. The bounty poster changes. 3 billion. 3 billion. We find out that the Tengu guy is Odin's dad. And of course, the best reveal ever. Buggy and Luffy are Yonkos. I'm actually so tempted to add another tier above this. But no. This is so clear S. So clear S. I feel as though the post Wano run was so insane. So insane. 1054, another amazing chapter. Flame Emperor. We see Green Bull fighting the Scabbards and Momo. We see Shanks reacting to Luffy's bounty, and we get to see Shanks stealing it. We see Shanks say, let's claim the One Piece, which is a chilling moment in my opinion. Find out that Sabo killed Cobra, but not really. We find that out, and we find out Sabo is now a huge revolutionary icon. I thought this chapter was also amazing. I'm going to give this an S tier. 1055, Shanks shows up to body Green Bull, which is the new era. I felt this chapter was also absolutely amazing. We get to see Old Wano, which is an entire other city under the sea. Really cool. We get to see Momo talking about the people that he needs to stay around to protect Wano, and then Momo literally just burns a hole in Green Bull, which was crazy. And then Shanks obviously makes Green Bull piss himself. This again, really great moment. That's an S tier. Cross Guild, that's an S tier. Don't even need to say anything. I genuinely feel like I don't need to say anything. You guys can probably just tell if you've seen me react to the series. if you know who I'm interested in as characters, you just know. You just know. Like, that's S tier. Okay, the end. Chapter 1057. So this is the play, and we get an amazingly long flashback, and my favorite part is the really genuine and sweet scene between Momo, Kinemon, Yamato, and the Straw Hats. I love this. I really, really love this moment. This is another moment in One Piece that's like, this was literally like a decade in the making. Let me actually check to be completely certain. How long has this chapter been out? 684, this is the first Momo chapter. 2012. 2012. Okay? This literally was a decade in the making. Like, this is what it's all about. What other series are you going to get moments like this where you're sobbing? You're sobbing, you know? And you get this really cool... I know a lot of people don't like the play. I think the play is pretty great. I think the play is pretty cool. And then look, the end of Wano. Nah. You know, I'm giving a lot of Wano S tier, man. A lot of Wano S tier. New Emperors. We get to see all the Straw Hats get bounty updates, which was super cool. We then get to see the Cross Guild and how they formed, which is, again, really great. Love it. Obviously, this is going to be S tier. I don't even need to question it. We also get Croc, Mihawk, and Buggy's bounties for the first time in the story. And we get to see Sabo is about to deliver some crazy info. Crazy info. What's going to be, guys? Craziness. This is great. This is great. Now, 1059, guess what's going to happen here? Oh, Kobe, Hancock, Blackbeard? What's going on? I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Rayleigh versus Blackbeard? Kobe's been kidnapped? Like, I feel like I could just say stuff, and it's just like, that's crazy. And it was crazy to read, because guess what? Guess what? That's S tier. That's S tier. Yep, and the Seraphim. I didn't even mention the Seraphim. Seraphim are in this, by the way, as well. That shit was crazy. 1060. Guess what chapter happens at 1060? That's Luffy's dream. And we get to see a bunch of people react to Vivi's dad being killed by Sabo. And we get to see everyone react to Luffy's dream, which we don't even know yet. There's just a whole other dream he has that he hasn't talked about, which I love. I love that to death. We get to see Sabo start delivering some information on Lucia, and then what do you know? Lucia is gone. Anyway, so then we get to see a bunch of people, and then what do you know? Bonnie? Julie Bonnie? Oh wow, that was crazy. Dude, 2022, insane year for One Piece. Like, I'm looking at these, dude. This S tier is massive. Okay, 1061. Egghead, first chapter. We're here. We're in Egghead now. We get to see a bunch of mechs. We see Mocha dolls introduced. Hibari's introduced. Prince Gruz is reappearing in the story. Bonnie and Jinbei and Chopper and Luffy. We're all heading out. Then we meet, quote-unquote, Dr. Vegapunk. Okay, that's what we're doing here? That's how we're setting up this arc? Vegapunk? Cool. That's how we're setting up this arc? Pretty awesome. Pretty crazy setup. Wacky hijinks. Science. Captured like, bro. Love it. Then we get to see them react to a bunch of the sea beasts for the first time. We see the sea beasts. We find out that there's other Vegapunks. We find out that, well, we don't find out. We get the confirmation that Bonnie and Kuma are related, which is hilarious because we didn't know that for such a long time. And now I'm saying that, and it feels like obvious. We see Egghead for the first time this chapter. It's gorgeous. We get a little Godzilla creature. I wonder what that could allude to. Hold on. Sorry. Anyway, this chapter is amazing. New location, always part of the fun of One Piece. And guess what? Lucci's here. Oh my god. Oh my god. And it's Head 63. What do you know it? Blackbeard's here? Blackbeard's here. My only family? Bonnie Baggage. Bonnie Baggage. And then, wait. Law's fighting Blackbeard? It's too easy. It's too easy, man. Alright, Egghead Labophase. Alright, Law's fighting Blackbeard? Pudding? What's going on? Wow, that was such a great setup to the chapter. I wonder where it'll go. I wonder what rank this is going to be. Yeah, amazing. So then we get a bunch of setup with Bonnie and her flashback. And then the other Straw Hats are taken to the higher area of Egghead. And then at the end, we get Shaka saying, I suspect that my death is imminent, so I wanted you to hear me out, Dragon. Okay. That's crazy. That's crazy. 1065. The ancient robots revealed. 6 Vegapunks. We see all the other Vegapunks. We see Seraphim Jinbei. We then also see a bunch of the Straw Hats clash with Seraphim Jinbei. So Edison, York, and Pythagoras are introduced, and Shaka makes his first in-person appearance, and they all stumble across a giant robot. But most importantly, in this chapter, we find out that Egghead isn't an island of the future, it's an island of the past. Pretty crazy reveal. Pretty crazy reveal. However, I genuinely do not think it is S tier. I know we've had a streak of like 10 chapters in a row that are S tier, but I will say this one is A tier. This one's cool. It's cool. Now, okay, you might not believe it, but a chapter called The Will of O'Hara is going to rank pretty high. As you guys know, Robin, one of my favorite characters. One of my favorite characters in the story. You know, I love her to death. And when you reenact her flashback, bring it into the fold, it's over. It is so over. The Will of O'Hara still lives on. We're getting a bunch of lore. We're seeing this weird big-headed thing. I wonder what that could be. Then we see O'Hara 1, Robin's flashback, Robin's sobbing, Robin's crying. We then see actual Vegapunk with Dragon. Dragon also was at O'Hara. What's going on? And then we see how Dragon made the Revolutionary Army. What? Crazy. And we then see Saul is alive? In hiding? And then we find out normal Vegapunk is alive. Wow. That's S tier. It is, this is, you know, I kind of wish I was, like, joking. I'm not joking about these placements. This is insane how good this is. You know what I mean? Like, I love this so much. It's crazy how, like, I'm like, oh yeah, that was great, that was great, that was great. But I'm being so genuine, where I'm just like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one right here. Okay, Punk Records. And also, by the way, I forgot to mention, we have passed over halfway through this list. Over halfway. Which is wild. I guess it's because Egghead is more fresh on our minds, that we just know immediately what it's going to be. And for a lot of Wano, it's fights. And it's like, okay, which fight is this? Which fight is this? Which fight is this? But it is kind of hilarious to look at this list and this list. It is kind of hilarious. It is kind of hilarious. I'm debating putting seems going to be Joy Boy either in S tier, so I'm going to do that. But that is hilarious. That is so hilarious. Okay, but let's continue. 1067, we get a bunch of info about the 6 Vegapunks. We then find out about him making Momo's fruits. And we then get Vegapunk asking him, get me out of here. Get me out of here. And Lucci, he's on the way. Kuma, on the move. A lot of stuff going on there. I will say, this, in my opinion, is not an S tier. But there is a lot of potential. A lot of cool build-up. 1068, A Genius's Dream. We then get a bunch of stuff about Kuma on the run and Lucci arriving. And we see that Vegapunk's dream is to get free energy for anyone all over the world. And Jinbei tries to make him, you know, grounded down to earth in his thought processes. But he just doesn't, he can't see it. Can't see it. And Lucci's on the island. Lucci's going crazy. What's going on? And we see that Lucci bodies Atlas. You know, rest in peace to my goat. You know, Atlas will be missed. But then, of course, after that, we then get Luffy versus Lucci. This shit is awesome. This shit is awesome. I'm going to put the Lucci chapter in A. A lot of cool reveals. And then Lucci, Luffy round 1. Pretty hype. Pretty hype. We get Akainu talking about Kizaru. And that obviously alludes to the fact that Kizaru is going to be on the way. We then get some clashes of Luffy Lucci, which are obviously meant to parallel his fight with Lucci on Water 7, which is one of my favorite arcs, so this is obviously, awesome. We get his awakened form. Awesome. We get a bunch of the Seraphim on patrol. We get the Authority chip. We get Sentomaru. And then we get Sentomaru getting bodied. So that was pretty great. A lot of cool things that happened. And obviously, just to be quick. Okay, it seems like it's good. Cool. And then obviously, we get a bunch of info about what devil fruits are in the first place and the ideas of what they could be in general. Because most people, we haven't even had anyone knowledgeable enough to talk about this stuff. But Vegapunk, he's one of the guys who could genuinely talk about this stuff and give a fair idea of what it could actually be. This was awesome. Definitive S. And then 1070, the strongest form of humanity. We get even more of Luffy versus Lucci. I love this stuff. Crazy climactic. We then see a bunch of the Seraphim going crazy. And then we see Kizaru is on the way. Kizaru is not only on the way, he's seemingly here. Which is great. And then we get some more Bonnie baggage. Love that. And we then see that CP0 is still doing their thing. So that's us. Okay. That is my 2022 list for One Piece. And honestly, that's a lot more S than I expected. But when I'm thinking about my reactions to it, what happened in those chapters, the absolute insanity of the situations, the reveals, I generally feel that way. Reading so many of those Gear 5 chapters felt surreal. Seeing so many of those post-Wano chapters, all these crazy reveals, and all these really, I don't know if I would say cathartic is the word, but they've been built up for such a long time. It's like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is it. That was great. That was really, really great. So this is my list so far. I'm actually going to move this a bit to the left so you guys can see all of it just in case. This is my list so far. Let me know if you guys have any specific placements where you'd be like, one, there's way too many S tiers. But I don't know. I generally feel like all these chapters are on the level of this. These S as well. If I was trying to be really critical, I would try and limit my S, but I feel as though if I limit the S, it would be harder to gauge it later on down the line. And I'm not going to try and order these by any means. I think I will try and do a top 5, because I think that would be fun. That might be a video, actually. That might be a video idea. Might do that. But yeah. No, I feel as though a lot of these chapters truly are S tier worthy, so I wanted to put them there. It just felt right. To me. So with that, we now continue to 2023. Now I have a lot of these chapters really fresh in my mind, and I actually think I did this tier list already, which is funny. Not on a stream, but I think I genuinely did do a tier list for this. And so I actually kind of have a good idea of where I gauge a lot of this stuff, which is cool. It's really cool. So we're going to start with 1071, obviously. This was a great chapter because it had Kid heading to Elbaf and Kuma heading to Egghead. A lot of this stuff was super hype. Super, super hype. And we got to see a bunch of characters clash it out. Like Kaku versus Zoro again. Super hype. We then get to see Garp and the capture of Kobe first brought up. Now this is what I live for. I live for these crazy, crazy moments. Now this, in my opinion, we're going to put that in S tier. A lot of hype. A lot of hype. A lot of build up. Super, super cool. Super cool. 1072, The Weight of Memory. Now, this was a banger. The Weight of Memory. Love this chapter. We get a bunch of stuff regarding Kuma's flashback and Kuma's just pursuit of Egghead as a whole. We get Awakened Kaku. How funny is that? Love that. Then we get Stussy double-crossing Kaku and Lucci. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy reveal. I'm going to put that in S as well. I remember there were so many reveals in this chapter that it felt almost ridiculous that this is just still happening. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And thinking back on this chapter, the weight of memory and setting up Kuma's flashback was great. It was great. Oh, man. This is the start of the peak, man. We get the Miss Buckingham Stussy chapter, where Stussy then goes after Lucci, and we get to see Bakken, actual Miss Buckingham Stussy. We get to see Mihawk Seraphim versus Zoro. Then we cut to Marco and a flashback of them taking Weevil and Weevil protecting Whitebeard's Island. That was pretty cool. And then we see the first ever name reveal of the Gorosei. Saint J. Garcia Saturn. Like, crazy. Crazy. I'm not going to put this in S. I will put it in A, but, like, it's really hard to not just be like, that was S. Because there isn't any necessarily crazy reveals. It is really crazy hearing, like, one of these characters be named, though. So, like, that's the one thing that's... No, it's us. No. Okay, 1074. The Mark III Pacifista chapter. They are now rolled out. Things are getting crazy. We then get to see a bunch of the squad pulling up. A bunch of setup for their escape plan. And then we see Bonnie's first ever glimpse into Kuma's flashback. And she's shook. This isn't something I can bear unless I'm truly ready for it. But I can't move on unless I know the truth. Please, Dad. Love this stuff. We then get the first illusion that there's a traitor among us. What? And then we get the cut to Big News Morgans. And who's with Big News Morgans? Vivi and Wapol? Huh? Crazy. So, I'm going to be honest. A lot of that stuff isn't too crazy until Vivi and Wapol. Like, Vivi and Wapol showing up, that was insane. That was absolutely insane. The Pacifistas, meh. You know, it could take it, leave it. The Bonnie Kuma stuff, lot of potential. Lot of potential. And then the sussy traitor. There's a traitor among us. What? That's crazy. But the Vivi and Wapol, by far, the peak of the chapter. We're ended with a crazy reveal. And then, obviously, that continues the furthering of the traitor subplot, or through line of the story. I'm gonna be honest. I am gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give it an A. But the Vivi Wapol stuff truly changed the game. We then see a bunch of the cast splitting up in the lava phase. What's going on? Oh my god, Pythagoras is dead. What? We then see a lot of the Seraphim on the fritz. They're not obeying the orders. And then Lucci, Luffy, Zoro, and Kaku have to team up. Crazy. Now, honestly, this chapter, it's not S tier. It's not. But that is a crazy setup. That is a crazy setup. I will be honest, I will probably give it a B tier. I will probably give it a B tier. I don't think it's the Vivi Wapol reveal tier. Everything in it was cool, just nothing so insane. Now, the next chapter directly follows up with that, and we get a great line from Luffy talking to Lucci. After we stopped all four of them, the Seraphim, you better not go after my friends and the Vegapunks. because you can't beat me in a fight. Got that? Man. Love that. Love that. We then get a bunch of the squad, going crazy. And then the chapter really takes a positive. 1076, Shanks is in Elbaf. And then we just find out this is Elbaf, land of proud warriors. And Kid is gonna fight Shanks. What a setup. What a setup. That's all I have to say. You could not get me more convinced if you tried. Chapter 1077 should have noticed sooner. Now, we get a bunch of stuff of them fighting the Seraphim. Okay, pretty cool, pretty crazy. Get some team-up attacks. I like that. Like Kaku and Zoro, Luffy and Lucci. A lot of fun stuff. A lot of fun stuff. We even get some of the other Straw Hats doing some fun stuff, like Sanji, Nami. Bunch of cool stuff. Bunch of cool stuff, We then get that really, really rough scene of Seraphim Boa. Tragic. And then Shaka dies. Now, this obviously shook the community a lot, because most people like Shaka a lot. They thought he was pretty cool. But, this was a crazy reveal, but not too crazy. I'm going to put it in A. I think it was a shocking reveal, but not nearly as shocking as Vivi and Wapol, because we love that. Well, we love Vivi. Okay, 1078, Escape Limit. Now, oh my god, more people are dying. Craziness is going on. Sanji's evil? What? Why is Sanji evil again? And then, here we go. This has been a record of the events before the day of the famous Egghead incident, but its course was set in motion 3 months prior. This is our first ever illusion of the Egghead incident, and Vegapunk is apparently getting ratted out, saying he's studying the Void Century, and everything is coming into place. We got this narrator talking about all this crazy stuff. Wow. It's so great. And then we get the reveal that York is the traitor. Now, I'm going to be honest. The grandiose nature setting up the Egghead incident, that goes really hard. But I feel as though a lot of the other stuff in this chapter is more setup and not necessarily interesting. And the end reveal of York, I feel like falls flat because we don't really know who York is, and it feels kind of out of left field. So for me, I'm going to put this in B as well. Then we're going to get to a critical mass of peak, okay? 1079, the Emperor's Crew, Red-Haired Pirates. Shanks, no diffs, Kid. This shit was awesome. That's S tier. Chapter 1080, the Hero of Legend. Garp versus the Blackbeard Pirates and Sword. This shit was awesome. That's an S tier. Chapter 1081. The 10th ship captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, Kuzan. Okay. Immediately. Title alone, crazy. Because this is the official confirmation of that. We get the reveal of Kuzan and Blackbeard with their flashback, teaming up. We also see Law's submarine is destroyed because it's not just Garp, it's also Law in this chapter. So, again, that's like 2 for the price of 1. Chapter 1082, let's go and take it. I don't even need to explain this. I don't think I need to. You guys know this is the chapter. Speaking of, it's not just the chapter, it's the Woda chapter. It's the Woda chapter, man. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. Chapter 1083, The Truth of That Day. 1083, The Truth of That Day. We get stuff about the Reverie. We're cutting back to the Reverie. We get to see all of the Revolutionary Army people go sicko. We get to see Sabo talking to Cobra. Well, not him talking to Cobra, but we get to see Sabo overlooking some of the stuff involving Bonnie and Vivi and Cobra. So, just so much there. I'm gonna give that an S. I'm gonna give that an S. Learning about the Reverie was something we wanted for so long that it hits. Chapter 1084, the attempted murder of a celestial dragon, has Cobra talking to the Gorosei, and Emu is about to make a move. We then also see that Sai and Leo body Charlos, which I loved. I loved that. And then Emu says their first ever word in the story. First word, Lily. What on earth does that mean? What on earth are you talking about? Alright, that's an S tier. Chapter 1085, the death of Nefeltar Cobra. Emu says so much in this chapter. That alone is sick. But no, the Gorosei are like monsters, and Cobra dies, and Sabo walked out of a room with the Gorosei, and Vivi was captured, and Wapol and Vivi are on the run? What's going on? It's crazy. Another S tier. Another S tier. It's really that simple sometimes. If there's something you can't believe, it's S. The Five Elders. So this is the end of the Reverie. We get to see some of the stuff that was going on with Big News Morgans. Bonnie escaping. Sabo escaping. There's so much. There's so much. We then get to see Emu use the Mother Flame, and all of the Gorosei have their names revealed. All of them. And we then get to see Emu desires Vivi, the reveal of Seraphim Doflamingo, Moria, and Crocodile, and even more stuff of Sabo talking about how he got out of there, and the reveal of Garling, who is Shanks's relative in some form or fashion, killing Miosgard. Insane. Insane. Again, like, I could keep going. Because guess what? We're not done the S tier. Battleship Bags, Garp and Kuzan fighting, Kobe completely saving all the people. Oh, actually, that's the chapter after. But no, Battleship Bags was elite, and then Kobe saving everyone was even crazier. The final lesson? Bro. That's a contender for chapter of the year, in my opinion. That's a strong contender. You are all the future of the Marines? Come on, bro. Come on. That's solid almost 10 chapters of heat. And then we cut back to Egghead. And then we get an around the world thing, revealing that Lelucia is a big hole and the sea level has risen, which obviously we now know even more of at this point in the story. We then get a bunch of bum vice admirals introduced, and Dahl, because we know who Dahl is. And it's a lot of setup. And then we find out that York is captured by the Straw Hats. I thought this chapter was kind of meh. The One Piece is a McChicken. For real. The One Piece is a McChicken. So, with that, I'm not going to give this an S. Unfortunately, the S era has ended. Unfortunately. Because a lot of this is set up. A lot of this is set up for that reveal of York at the end being captured, but I do love around the world stuff. I have a huge bias for that, so I am going to have to give this a B. It would have been lower had it not been for that beginning. Chapter 1090, Kizaru. So Kizaru takes the stage. Finally, Kizaru's showing up. And there's a lot of stuff here that's building up. And Kizaru fights Sentomaru, and Luffy is shook. I'm going to be honest, I also feel like this chapter is rather Nothing really crazy is revealed in my opinion. We're kind of getting into the, okay, this fight's going to be crazy. And then it doesn't even happen. It's just the build up to it. 1091, we see a lot of the Vice Admirals do stuff. And let's be for real, we do not care about these Vice Admirals. We don't care. Chapter 1091 is called Sentomaru. We get a lot of Sentomaru's flashback, and I'm going to be honest, I don't particularly care for Sentomaru, but I did like this chapter. It was cool. And then we see Luffy clash with Kizaru. Kizaru, compared to 2 years ago, we're 100 times stronger now. That's hype. That is hype. You know, that is a way to get people to read your chapter. 1092. Kuma and the Tyrant's Holy Land Rampage. Oh, Kuma the Tyrant, not Kuma and the Tyrant. So, Kuma's Amrijois, and you know who's fighting him? Akainu. This shit was awesome. I loved this chapter when it came out, because, in my opinion, this added so much depth to Akainu's character. And then, we cut back to Egghead, obviously, and we see some stuff with Luffy fighting Kizaru. And Kizaru talking to Bonnie, alluding to the idea that they know each other. And then Luffy, no joke, manhandles him, grabs him like an action figure. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then the robot activates as well from the drum's liberation. What does that mean? I don't know. But it's fire. That's S tier. 1093, Luffy versus Kizaru. So, as I said earlier, I mentioned this when I was talking about Kid-in-Law versus Big Mom. I am not a fan of this chapter. I'm not a fan. I'm going to count the amount of pages that are Luffy fighting Kizaru and Luffy versus Kizaru. Okay, 1, 2. Oh, wait, we're already gone? Now we're at 2 because it is now through. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Okay? 7 of 20. That ain't Luffy versus Kizaru. If it was Luffy versus Kizaru, it should be the whole thing. That's how Oda usually sets up fights like these. Like in Sanji versus Queen, all that's in that chapter is Sanji versus Queen. Typically, it's even the finale of Sanji, of the fight. So, in my opinion, this title baited me so hard. So I'm actually going to put it in D. This chapter infuriates me. Because they could have named it anything else. Okay. 1094. 5 Elders, Godhead of Science Department, Saturn's on the island. Okay, that's all you need to know. All this stuff, great. We get more fighting, more action, Pacifista stand down, some black lightning, dark summoning circle. Saturn's a monster. Saturn is a spider bull thing. This is crazy. That's S tier. Literally, like that's. I feel like that's all I need to say. Like, come on. All these crazy that reveal alone. The reveal alone. And now, 1095. We're starting another S tier streak. Better Off Dead in This World. The beginning of the Kuma flashback. Literally, I don't know what else to even say. Because guess what? That's S tier. And 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 that's S tier. Okay, so that's literally 8 in a row S tier. Like, I don't even need to go over what happens in them. I just have so much faith of the peak that was written in this. I have so much faith because all of it was fire. Every single chapter. It's like the amount of development. The amount of development for Kuma, who is already a character I had in my top 10, mind you, without this arc, was unreal. And there are so many moments in this that are chilling. Chilling. Not only because we get to see stuff about the world we never thought we'd see, but we're just seeing it from a different perspective. Like Thriller Bark, like Sabaody. I will never forget reading through chapter 1102. I will never forget that. Kuma's life, which is obviously the final one of the section. And when Luffy, his entire crew is gone. They are vanished, right? Luffy shook. he says, I couldn't save any of them. And Akuma says this. He doesn't say it, but he's thinking it. He says, that is not true. This is just the level of the whole. This is just the level of the new world. It is still too soon for the likes of your crew. Don't come here yet. One day in the future, you will be the man who saves the world. I will never forget that scene, man. I will never forget that. Because this scene, I couldn't save any of them, was already one of my favorite scenes in the whole series. Already. But then, Oda added this whole other layer to it, making it even better. And this, in my opinion, is the epitome of why Oda is a masterclass author. He's able to make moments that already were so impactful and reinterpret them in such a way that they're even more powerful now. So this is a fantastic example of that. Fantastic example. And of course, we then get the end of Kuma's life, and it ends in the most tragic way possible, talking about how, you know, all the letters, everything was just build up to this just twist of the knife. This twist of the knife. Tell her I wish her a very happy 10th birthday. Because over this arc, you know, Bonnie to me was cool, but she did have that thing of the I'll never forgive you girl joke that she was kind of used to over the many years of her being in story. But this, like, development for her, and when realizing she is like a kid, she's only like 12 at this point in the story. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I don't know, stuff like that, it destroys me. And I always loved whenever Oda does the dad-daughter relationship stuff, because it feels so genuine, and it feels very heartfelt a lot of the time. And I don't know, I love that. I love that. It has so much depth. And it's human. It's human and it's real. I love it. I love it. Now, unfortunately, there are no other things left, and I couldn't find one for the 2024 chapters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type them on the screen, and we'll place them in the spots. Yo, it's good, Nasty Ninja and Dak. I appreciate you guys for pulling through. Dak says, is this pre-game for the Buggy Bash? I consider this such, yeah. Because I was thinking of doing this for that stream, but I'm like, nah, I'll make it its own thing, you know? I'll make it its own thing. Because the Buggy Bash is going to be celebrating this, but I'm like, if I do 2 hours of this, that'll take up so much time, and I would rather have people talk and have a fun time. Legit, that page of Kuma's dad telling him his mom died, then to only get shot the moment he tries to calm Kuma down. The fact it wasn't the saddest chapter yet tells you everything about the flashback. Yeah, honestly. And I don't know, my favorite thing about Kuma and Bonnie's relationship is definitely the fact that they have no genuine blood relation whatsoever. There's nothing. But it's just, he cared for Ginny, and he felt this feeling of like immense, he can't provide for them because he's afraid of what he'll do just by being associated with them. And it's so tragic, but he's willing to take care of Bonnie because no one else in the world will. No one else will. Really, really tragic stuff. Okay, now not 10, I don't even say 10 anymore, 1103. We get to see the continuation of the fight after all that. After all that, Bonnie is going after Saturn. After all of that. And guess what? Her will is broken. She's destroyed. She's gone. It's so disgusting. And the reason she has an ability is because of not an ability, the scales, is because of Her Saturn as well. Kuma, the mom, everything. It's all building up to just hate this. Hate this so much. I'm sorry. Like sometimes when I read, I just feel things. I don't know what to say, but I hate Saturn so much. I hate him. I hate him so much. But then as Kuma's running towards the brawl, he's getting shot from every angle. Saturn can't even believe he's on the island. It's impossible. And then Bonnie she can't feel anything. I can't even speak. Hey, Dad, I think my spirit is breaking down. Maybe it'll be easier if I just die. I'm sorry. And then my goat, Bartholomew Kuma, saves his daughter and is going to get ready to body this dude. To body him. And then, of course, the next chapter, we get a pretty solid summarization of the flashback and a great callback to Luffy's punch at Sabaody, which goes so hard. So absurdly hard. And then Kuma powers down. And this has a lot of, interesting implications. How is a man that doesn't have a will of his own able to use Haki, which is based on will? What is the human condition in this world? What makes us have something that drives us even after we shouldn't even been able to do anything else? I love it. Because it is something fantastical, but it says something about humanity as a whole. And about the bonds we have with one another, which I find really powerful. And I love this. I love them so much. We then see Sanji do some epic shit to deflect Saturn. Really awesome. This is another S tier. It's undoubtable. It's indisputable. The S tier levels. That was great. What an amazing 2 chapters right there. What an amazing 2 chapters. We then get another pretty solid chapter with a very climactic finish in 1105 with Kuma, Bonnie, Sanji, and Atlas, falling from the sky. Very crazy climactic shot. Love it to death. Love it to death. And then, chapter 1106, we get the reveal of Bonnie controlling all the past. Yep, there we go. The audio's good. We get the reveal of Bonnie controlling all the pacifistas, Vegapunk dying, and then Bonnie sees Luffy is the sun god, and then the giant pirates show up. Come on, man. Come on. Like, that's all. I feel like that's all I need to say. All those things happen to this one chapter. The emotional growth, the crazy reveals, the action, and the new characters out of nowhere, who then call Luffy the sun god. And not only that, this is like an 100 chapter anniversary almost for these guys. Not 100, 1,000. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how good it is. It's ridiculous. This one hair keeps touching my nose right there. It's driving me crazy. Let me find a text box really quick, and I'll start updating them. But so far, 1103, 4. Oh, my audio's popping. Hold on. Alright, let me see if that's better. Actually, I have a really good idea. Okay, thank you for that heads up. Let me actually see if I can fix this. Okay, testing. It might be good now. Obviously, let me know. Because I don't want to continue if the audio is going to be garbage. If I don't want to continue, I mean, I'm going to fix it until we're done. But that should be good. Hold on. Alright, starting to type the text boxes in as well, just to make it easier. Sounds better? Okay, awesome. And then for 1105, I put that in A tier. Great action, crazy suspense, put that in A. Let me copy that really quickly. Oh my god, it is annoying to do this stuff sometimes, but I'm gonna have to do another one. Great. Great. Alright, let me do another one. Hold on. I've never done the text, like, on the screen, like, in advance, so I'm trying to do this now. I wish I could just duplicate them. It's so stupid. Whatever, here's what I'm going to do instead. We'll make a note, and I'll just put it on the screen once we're done. Alright. But those are going to stay in S. Chapter 1107, I've been looking for you. Now, this is when the Giants reconvene with Luffy. Pretty sick. We get a bunch of Luffy fighting Saturn. Also really sick. Sanji is protecting Bonnie, and setting up to fight Kizaru. Really cool. And most importantly, in my opinion, we get to see Katarina and Van Augur not only steal Saturn's DNA, but also Caribou gets revealed as a Bartolomeo, but for Blackbeard. This was great. Again, another one of those, so many things happen that are cool in different ways. I love chapters like this. They feel as though this is what One Piece is for. This is why we read this stuff. Okay, this is a good way to go about it. Let's check 1108. This is Come In World. So this is the start of the stream. Get a bunch of stuff with the Vice Admirals, you know. That's cool. The Vice Admirals. We get Saturn going crazy. Kizaru kills Vegapunk again, and we get this amazing panel of Luffy holding them both back. Kizaru in one hand, Saturn in the other. Great setup. Great setup. 1109, Interception, is when all of the Gorosei head to Marijois. The absolute insanity of this reveal was crazy. And the fact that we see everyone around the world is tuned into the stream. Characters from the beginning of the story to in the story right now. Everything matters here. And these moments, awesome. And great action as well. Another amazing chapter. That is chapter 1109, which is another S tier. 1110, Starfall. All the Gorosei get reveals and demon forms. Like, dude, I don't even think I need to say anything else. Crazy suspense the whole time. Insane action. Like, dude, that's all I need to say. 1111, Zoro Lucci. Yeah, Zoro Lucci. More stuff like that. We then get to see a bunch of stuff with the bird Gorosei and the pig Gorosei, with the giants even coming in to help. Luffy makes a baseball bat. Elite. That's all I need to say. Luffy makes a baseball bat. And then the robot is back. The robot's back. And then that was the cutoff before the break, which was really great. Really, really great chapter. Again, another S tier chapter. 1112 Hard Aspects continues the Gorosei craziness, and we get to see a bunch of really cool stuff. Now, there is a lot of setup, but in my opinion, the amazing action with immensely high stakes counteracts this entirely. And we get a really cool cliffhanger of something being inside Punk Records. Now, obviously, there were a lot of people speculating some wild stuff, but, you know, it was still cool, regardless. And, again, we get a bunch of setups for Gorosei fighting other Straw Hat people outside of Luffy and Sanji, which is also really cool. And, in my opinion, there's another cool chapter. I don't know if I would say this is S tier, however, the action was incredible. Was really, really incredible. So I'm going to say 1105 and 1112 are both A tier, but I'm debating on 1112 being S tier. And then lastly, chapter 1113, the last chapter, that was clear S tier. We don't even need to explain it. We don't even need to explain it. I feel as though just the absurdity of the reveal that happened, that's all I need. That's all I need to say. And then, oh, that's a good idea. Let me save up with that. That's a good one. All right, boom. That's what I'm feeling. That is what I'm feeling, genuinely. And then let me add a new one. Let me duplicate, rename, please. Yes, yes. Yes, sir. There we go. That is what I'm feeling for my list. That is what I'm feeling. I think that turned out pretty great. We just passed over the 2-hour mark about 15 minutes ago, but I mean, this is pretty solid in my opinion. So we have our first one. And I didn't include any of these obviously because I started on 1013. Our second one, which is so hilariously S tier stacked, it's great. And then our third one, which is also really S tier stacked, and it's still going with the S tier stack. It's still going. It's still going. But what do you guys think are like the chapters out of these past 100? Which one would you say is like your favorite? If you have one that, you know, really stood out to you in particular, let me know, because there's a lot of greatness here. A lot of greatness. It's really difficult for me to choose a favorite, but there are some that really stand out to me. 1082, 1088. There's a lot in the Kuma flashback. And obviously, you know, Gear 5. You know, like, there's a lot here, man. The Buggies of Yonko. So much. So much here. And, you know, even in the beginning, you know, like Sanji's fight with Queen. I love that. And Luffy, you know, it seems like you couldn't be Joy Boy either. Demonio. Luffy splitting the sky. Like, so many amazing moments. And so, I don't know. I really appreciate that I've been able to be on this journey for, like, such a long time, where it's like, even this far in, I could look back and think, wow, I remember when that happened. I remember when that happened. I remember when that happened. And obviously there have been people who've been reading this for way longer than I have. Way longer than I have. But, you know, I feel lucky that I'm able to be in One Piece at this moment with these chapters. It's so cool. So, yeah. That's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Let me see if I can redirect to someone else. Let me see. Oh yeah, don't want any echoes. Do not want any echoes. Let me see if I can redirect to someone else. I guess it would be here. No, the ones are upcoming, sadly. But yeah, that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do want me to suffer more through these tier lists, let me know. I still have to find a date for that every Adventure Time character tier list. I know I'm going to die doing that. That's going to be so painful. So painful. But regardless, that's been it for me. Hope you enjoyed. Take care, and have a good one.